In my last video, I had talked about how I created a spreadsheet that creates shot groups and scores, and all those are based on particular parameters. Um, so at that time, I wasn't really done with it. I only had it set up for standing for 200 yards slow fire, but now I've expanded it to all four stages, and I've learned a few things based on running some simulations. So I wanted to cover that in this video. Um, just a quick recap of what this spreadsheet is and how it works. Um, in this sheet, in this main sheet where we enter information, um, each shot has a component to it. Natural point of aim, the size of the hold, and the trigger control, as well as other shot components. And each of those components have a magnitude of variation. So for example, while your intent might be to shoot at the very center of the target, well, not might, but I'm sure it is. I'm sure that is the intent. There's variation due to various things. So for example, your intent is to shoot the very center of the target, but there's variation due to an imperfect natural point of aim. So for each shot, that natural point of aim might mean that your aim point might be over here or over here. So there's variation there. And then on top of that variation, there's the size of your hold, a variation due to your hold, and the ability to make a decision as to where to fire the shot. And then once you fire the shot, there's even more variation on top of that that's based on trigger control. So all that variation compounded means that even though you intend to hit the very center of the target, the actual point at which the shot goes off is somewhere else. And then on top of that, those are your marksmanship components. But on top of that, then there's the quality of your equipment, and your equipment will have variation to it depending on how good it is, how good your rifle and ammo combo is. So once you stack up all that, then you finally get to the point where your marksmanship plus the equipment generate a shot location. And what my spreadsheet does is it takes all that variation and it generates a shot, and then it generates multiple shots and generates groups, and specifically 20 shot groups for any particular simulation. Now, what I had wanted to do in this case was I wanted to quantify how much of a role equipment plays in the groups that are fired by high power rifle shooters. And I use the term quantify on purpose because people assume that if you have less than perfect equipment, that automatically means that you're going to shoot a larger group. Maybe that's true. It certainly seems reasonable. But what I was curious about was how much bigger is that group? Not that it is big, not that it necessarily is bigger, which, like I said, it seems reasonable, but how much bigger is that group? Um, I wanted to quantify that, and I wanted to separate the marksmanship from the equipment. You know, what is the group size, and what is the result based on just solely marksmanship, and then what are the same things based on marksmanship with the equipment added. So some people, they kind of assume that you need a very, very tight shooting rifle and ammo combo to shoot high power. And that may be the case, but it may not be. So I use this simulation, I use this spreadsheet to run a bunch of different shooting simulations. And I'll describe those simulations like this. Let's say that 4 shooters of different abilities go to the range. And with them they bring 3 different rifle and ammo combinations. They start with one shooter picking out the 2 minute of angle rifle and ammo combo. He shoots a 20-shot group with that combo. Then he shoots another 20-shot group, then another, and then another. And he keeps going until he shoots 20 groups with that equipment. That's a total of 400 shots. Then he picks up the 1 minute of angle equipment combo and shoots another 20 groups with it. Then he does the same with the 3/4 minute of angle combo. Then, after all that, he gets out of position after firing 1,200 shots. That's a lot of shooting. Now the next guy shoots the same arrangement, another 1,200 shots. Then the other 2 do the same thing. That's a total of 4,800 shots that are fired. And that's the simulation that I ran. And all of this is done on the NRA 600-yard high-power target, where the X-ring is about 1 minute of angle in diameter, and the 10-ring is about 2 minutes of angle in diameter. Now let me clarify something about how I define the different levels of precision for the equipment in these simulations. I'm not talking about going to the range and shooting a few 5-shot groups, picking out a good one, and then saying you have a 1/4 minute of angle gun and ammo combo. When I refer to some minute of angle measurement, I'm talking about shooting a lot of shots on a target, like 500 or so, and then measuring the smallest circle that will cover all the shots. So for example, when I talk about 1 minute of angle equipment combo here in this simulation, that 1 minute of angle means that you went out and you fired that ammo and rifle combination. You fired a whole bunch of shots with it, and all on one target, all one big group, and that group in a circle that's 1 minute of angle, all those shots are covered by that circle. So my hunch is that 2 minute of angle, 1 minute of angle, and 3/4 minute of angle are appropriate levels of precision for equipment that might be used for high-power rifle matches. Now I may be wrong on the actual numbers, and they might be different. And certainly, if anyone can provide me with data that says that some other number is more appropriate, I'd like to hear about it. Because maybe 1/2 minute of angle or 1/4 minute of angle is more appropriate for this type of equipment for these matches, or maybe 5 minute of angle. Who knows? These are just kind of my guesses, but I'm certainly open to any suggestions anybody else might have. Anyway, after doing all these simulations, I get a lot of numbers to sift through, and then what I did is I took all those numbers and turned them into 2 sets of data, group size and score. The first set of outputs that I want to talk about is group size. And a lot of times extreme spread is used when it comes to determining group size. So for example, on, let's find, for example, this group here. A lot of times shooters will look at this group and say that their group size, they will define this group size by taking the extreme spread between 2 shots, the furthest shots apart from each other. So that would be probably this shot and probably this shot here. So the distance from here to here, they'd measure that and they'd say this group is that size, whatever that size is. That's probably, that's like from 0.5 down to 1.25 or something. So they'd say that's a 1 3/4 minute of angle group. But unfortunately, that's a pretty poor way of measuring group size because you're using these 2 points to determine the group size, and you're ignoring the other 18 data points. So what I use is something called a mean radius method. And the mean radius method, all that is, it's pretty simple. All that is just it's a measurement from the center of the group to the radius, the distance from the center of the group to each point. So from the center of the group to here, from the center of the group to here, from the center of the group to here, center of the group to here, etc. All 20 radii are measured and then divided by 20 to get the average radius to each shot. And that's all there is to it. And that's a difficult way to measure a group when you're out at the range. But when you're doing simulations like this, it's pretty easy. The computer does all that measurement for you. So that's how I did. That's how I measured the group size for all the simulated groups that I came up with. And one thing I can also do is, in this case, you can see this group. This is the same thing, only this is kind of the zoomed in version. What I can do is, this is the output after of the actual shot on target. But one thing I can also generate is the group based on just marksmanship. And then also marksmanship with the equipment added. And I'll talk about that in a minute. Now, let's go over what the group sizes tell us from all these shot simulations. So we'll start with this. I'm going to show you 4 different targets, one for each of the different shooter types, novice, intermediate, experienced, and elite. And we'll start with this one. This is the target for the novice shooter. And what this represents are all the simulations for the novice shooter with the 3 different equipment types. But not only the 3 different equipment types, 2 minute of angle, 1 minute of angle, and 3/4 minute of angle, but also just the marksmanship. So for example, I was able to generate for each group that was generated, each simulation, each 20-shot simulation, that I got an output for just the marksmanship and then outputs for each of the equipment added, which I don't know if that really makes sense the way I described it. But what essentially I'm doing is the marksmanship only portion is what the shooter actually held for when they broke the shot, using their aim, their hold, and their trigger control, and just that. That's what represented with blue in blue. And then once you add in the 2 minute of angle equipment, rifle and ammo combo, then those are the red points, and the 1 minute of angle is yellow, and 3/4 minute of angle is green. So if you look up here at the target, this is the average radius group. So as just a minute ago I talked about determining group size using the mean radius method, and that's what this is. So for marksmanship only, it's kind of hard to see here because they're kind of overlapping, but if you look carefully, you might see some blue in here. And what that represents is that is the size of the group, the average radius for the group for this shooter with just their marksmanship skills. And then the red, which really you can't see because they're kind of right on top of each other. But the red is with the 2 minute of angle, and then yellow and green for the other 2 pieces of equipment. So one of the first things that we can see from this is that all of these group sizes are overlaid with each other, which means they're all pretty much the same size. And that's borne out with a couple of pieces of data here. One thing I looked at was if you took the group size based on using the 2 minute of angle equipment, and now you improve that somehow to where the equipment is now 1 minute of angle, how much of an improvement in group size would that make for the novice shooter? Well, it turns out that makes the group 0.48% smaller, basically less than half a percent, which really it's nothing. And that's you can see that it's pretty much nothing on the target because whether it's 2 minute of angle or 1 minute of angle, they're all basically the same group size. And then I also looked at what might happen if you take that 1 minute of angle equipment and you improve it to three-quarter of a minute of angle. In that case, this is kind of an interesting point, is that it actually gives you a larger group, which doesn't really make sense when you first hear it. That tighter shooting equipment would make a larger group, but when you have this many simulations that happen, that's certainly possible. And really, whether it's smaller or larger, these numbers are so small that really it's insignificant. I call these out and I say that it's a smaller group and a larger group, but really for all practical purposes, they're pretty much the same. There basically is no difference in improving equipment from 2 minute of angle to 1 minute of angle and from 1 to 3/4 in these simulations. And again, you can see that because all these groups are averaging about the same size, regardless of equipment. And so the novice shooter is basically getting the results based on his marksmanship skills, regardless of the equipment that they're using. All right, so that's the novice shooter. So let's move on to the intermediate shooter. And here we see obviously smaller groups because we're not dealing with like around the 8 ring. Now we're well within the 9 ring. And we also see a little bit of differentiation between the group sizes. So again, blue is marksmanship only. And you really can't see it, but trust me, it's kind of underneath here where you can see this green. But when we go add 2 minute of angle equipment, which is really not that great of a rifle ammo combo, that group size increases from here out to here. So this is with the marksmanship with 2 minute of angle equipment is this red circle. So that's the group size, which is maybe slightly larger than a mid-ring 9 size group. Again, and that's the average radius for this shooter, the intermediate shooter. And then so just like before, I looked at what happens when you take that 2 minute of angle equipment and improve it to 1 minute of angle. And what we get is the yellow circle, which is kind of in here. That's a 6.7% smaller group. So when we go from 2 minute of angle to 1 minute of angle equipment with this same shooter, their group size shrinks by 6.7%. And this is kind of a number, like what does that really mean? Well, you can see that on target. It goes from, say, just larger than a mid-ring 9 to maybe just smaller than a mid-ring 9. And then, as before, what happens when you take that 1 minute of angle equipment and improve it even further to 3/4 minute of angle, you get, from what I found, there is no change in the group size when you make that improvement. It's basically the numbers are the same, whether it's 1 minute of angle or 3/4 minute of angle. The average radius is the same. All right, that's intermediate, and now we'll move to our experienced shooter. Same thing. One difference is, again, the group size is smaller, as you might expect, with the greater skill of the shooter. So instead of being out here in the mid-ring 9, now we're right at the edge of the 10 ring. So again, the blue that's the marksmanship only, and once again, you can't see it because there's other points over it, but it's underneath this green. I'm going to take my word for it. But when we add the 2 minute of angle equipment, now we get a larger group on average, which is out here, this red. which is right at the edge of the 10 ring. And then if we improve it from 2 minute of angle to 1 minute of angle, it's underneath this green, basically back to where our marksmanship only was. So if we look at improving equipment again, if we go from 2 minute of angle to 1 minute of angle equipment, we wind up with a 7.7% smaller group. And then if we improve that again from 1 minute of angle to 3/4, just like the intermediate shooter, we have no change in the group size. The numbers are the same. The group size are the same, 1 minute of angle or 3/4 minute of angle. And again, you can see that on the target because in this inner ring is basically 3 sets of data: the marksmanship only, the 1 minute of angle, and the 3/4 minute of angle. So whether this shooter uses 1 minute of angle equipment or 3/4 minute of angle equipment, they're basically getting the same thing, the same size group that their marksmanship skills are delivering. So let's keep on going to our last shooter, which is our elite shooter, whatever that means. So again, now we've moved from the 10 ring, like an outside 10. Now we're kind of flirting with the edge of the X ring. And here you can see a little bit more definition between the groups and the colors. So for example, the marksmanship component, just the marksmanship, you can see that as the blue ring on the interior here. You can see that right here. And then from that blue to the red, once you add the 2 minute of angle equipment, so you've got this elite shooter, you give them the equipment that shoots 2 minute of angle. Now their group size goes from this blue circle to this red circle. So now they're kind of and shooting an inside 10 is where the average shot radius is. Now, if they improve their equipment from 2 minute of angle to 1 minute of angle, that winds up being a 16.5% smaller group. So we go from this red circle to yellow, which is, if you can kind of see this, you can see the blue and you can see the green, and between that you can kind of see the yellow underneath there. So that's a 16.5% smaller group. That's the improvement. Now, what's interesting here is that if we improve it once again, if we replace our 1 minute of angle equipment with 3/4 of a minute of angle equipment for our elite shooter, they wind up shooting actually a slightly larger group, even though they are now shooting with quote-unquote better equipment. So that's just an interesting piece of information. So just like for the last couple shooters we saw, there was no improvement going from 1 minute of angle to 3/4 of a minute of angle. In this case, they're going actually in the opposite direction. So that's group size for these 4 shooters with these pieces of equipment. But in high power rifle competition, group size really doesn't mean very much. What matters, and really the only thing that matters, is score, and that's how you determine who wins. So I looked at group size, but I also looked at score. Score between these shooters and how equipment mattered for them. So here's a chart that plots again the 4 kind of the 4 data sets, the marksmanship only, and now if you add in 2 minute of angle equipment, 1 minute of angle equipment, and then 3/4 minute of angle equipment, and what that means in terms of score. So we'll start with down here at the left with the novice shooter. The novice shooter, just their marksmanship is a score of 151 out of 200. That is what their marksmanship skills deliver. That's essentially what I would call, that's what they're holding for. So if you just look at that shooter, just when the shot goes off, regardless of what rifle they're using, what kind of ammo what they're using, they are scoring theoretically just their marksmanship skills a 151. Now, if that shooter uses their marksmanship skills and uses it with 2 minute of angle equipment, it's not really plotted here. It's a 150. Maybe you can't see it here because 150 is a minimum value, but so they are losing 1 point. They're going from a 151. Their marksmanship delivers a 151, but their equipment limits them to a 150. So they're essentially losing a point by using, on average, by using the 2 minute of angle equipment. Now, if the shooter uses 1 minute of angle equipment, they are scoring a 152, which their marksmanship is delivering a 151, but with the 1 minute of angle equipment, they're getting a 152, which is a 1 point gain, actually. They're actually shooting a better score than really what they deserve to shoot, and that equipment is delivering that, which is that's kind of interesting. But and then with the 3/4 minute of angle equipment, they're back to shooting a 151. So they are not. There's no gain in from their marksmanship to where to shoot to where they're shooting with the 3/4 minute of angle equipment. And then if we move on through the other shooters, the intermediate shooter, their marksmanship would score a 178 with the 2 minute of angle equipment. They're scoring a 175. So 178 to a 175. They're losing 3 points because they're using the 2 minute of angle equipment. So this 2 minute of angle equipment has got more variation, and that additional variation is costing them 3 points on average on a 20 shot match. But with the 1 minute of angle equipment, that scores a 178. Their marksmanship scores a 178. So they've got the same. It's the same score. And the same thing with the 3/4 minute of angle equipment. So this intermediate shooter will shoot the same score on average with a 1 minute of angle equipment and the 3/4 minute of angle equipment as they would their marksmanship. So all you can really ask of your equipment is to help you deliver the kind of performance that you normally would with your marksmanship skills. And in this case, it does. And if we look at the experienced shooter, their marksmanship has scores a 188 with 2 minute of angle equipment. This is a 186, so they're losing 2 points. But with the 1 minute of angle and the 3/4 minute of angle equipment, those are 188s along with their marksmanship. So this is the same with these two pieces of equipment as with their marksmanship. And the same thing goes for the elite shooter. The elite shooter is holding for a 199 score. With the 2 minute of angle equipment, it's a 197, so they're losing 2 points there. But then they have with the 1 minute of angle rifle and ammo combo, or the 3/4 minute of angle rifle combo, those are 199. So they're scoring the same with those pieces of equipment as they normally do with their marksmanship skills. And let's do the same thing that we did before with the group sizes. Let's look at what the improvement is if in score if you improve the equipment. So, for example, going from a 2 minute of angle rifle and ammo combo to a 1 minute of angle combo, if you improve that from two MOA to 1 MOA, what are you gaining as far as points on average? Well, the novice shooter gains 2 points, the intermediate shooter gains 3 points, the experienced shooter gains 2 points, and the elite shooter gains 2 points as well. So a couple points better improvement for these shooters going from improving their equipment from 2 minutes of angle to 1 minute of angle. Now, what if we improve that even further from 1 minute of angle to 3/4 minute of angle? And just one thing to keep in mind is the magnitude of these improvements. The magnitude of going from 2 to 1 minute of angle, that's an increase of 1 minute of angle, whereas 1 going to 3/4, that's only improving by a 1/4 minute of angle. Well, this 1/4 minute of angle improvement here actually doesn't gain the novice shooter anything. Actually, they're losing 1 point on average in a 20-shot match. And the other 3 shooters are not gaining a single point due to this improvement. Now, of course, this is a relatively small magnitude of gain, but in reality, I think this type of improvement may actually be a pretty time and resource intensive way to make this kind of improvement. So anyway, what you can see here is that there is improvement in score going from 2 to 1 minute of angle, but once you get past that, it doesn't look like there's really a huge gains to be made. So that's score, and so group size and score are what my primary outputs were. But there were a couple other things that I learned as well. Now, I had simulated 240 groups, 240 20-shot groups. And out of those 240 groups, about 27% of them had group sizes that were actually smaller when you add in the equipment than just marksmanship alone. So this kind of goes back to the thinking that your marksmanship delivers a certain group size, and then once you add in equipment that has variation, all equipment has variation to it. Once you add in that rifle and ammo combo that isn't perfect, the assumption is that your groups are always going to get bigger. Well, that's not necessarily true. And what I found is about in 27% of the cases, the groups were smaller when you factor in the equipment than just what the marksmanship was. And kind of by the same token is about 21% of those groups had a score that was higher with the equipment than just marksmanship alone. So this is a case where you're shooting and your marksmanship skills are supposed to deliver a particular score, and so you would think that with equipment that has variation to it, now you're going to score lower. Well, in 21% of the cases, the score was actually higher. So what this means is that you actually had a better score with that equipment that has variation to it. So your equipment actually got you a better score than what you held for. So that's one way to look at it is you shot better than what you really deserve to shoot based on your marksmanship skills. So anyway, that's really kind of the summary of what I got out of this spreadsheet so far. I'd be interested to know what people thought about this and any feedback that I might get from anybody. So anyway, just an update on what I was able to get out of it, and thanks for watching.